Welcome one and all to the Mudai Manga Book Club podcast. Today is episode 14, For Sale, One Magical Elf Girl. My name is Louie and I will just be. I'm joined with my co-host.
The true Archdemon dilemma is physical violence or magical violence?
Tom!
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the show.
This week we have two main topics. First, we're going to do our usual, talk about what we've been reading, talk about what we've been watching, listening to, things like that for the past week. And then we're going to do a review of An Archdemon's Dilemma, How to Love Your Elf Bride, Volume 1.
Yep. So, to start us off with what you have been up to. Louie, what have you been up to this week?
So I read a few things. The first one's going to be a story called... I gotta make sure I say this right. Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. It's a world... So the main setting is here in regular Japan. Mm-hmm. And then I don't want to kind of go too deep into what happens because it's funny. So the Dragon Girl is called Toru, and she has traveled to our universe, and Miss Kobayashi finds her, helps her, and says, "You can live with me." And then she's like, "Great, I'll be your maid." He's like, "Okay." But Toru actually has feelings for her because she saved her. So she's like, "I am indebted to you. I will do all these. I will do whatever it takes." And it's kind of a slice of life sort of kind of story.
Yeah.
There's no like overarching thing that's happening so far yet.
Okay.
And then Miss Kobayashi is just a regular office worker. She works in, I think, IT at her company and isn't a huge fan of having Toru around. Like, she's kind of growing on her as the story goes along, but it's kind of like, this is kind of more work than it needs to be. Because, so Toru can also transform into a giant dragon and also has giant dragon powers, like breathing fire and flying, and they're trying to keep it under wraps, but not quite. It's, yeah.
Okay.
It's like, how does anyone not notice that she can turn back and forth in a giant dragon and fly through the sky and nobody cares? And
yeah.
And then, so there's reasons why she's there. And then another dragon shows up, which is another character you've seen everywhere, most likely.
Probably, yeah.
It's very comedy, slice of life kind of thing. And it's very funny. And the interactions are funny. And then just the way Toru reacts to things, because she's from another universe, but she's trying to kind of play along that she's from here, and she doesn't always do it very well. So it's funny. So that's one to check out. So I read the first one of that, and then I read the next two are really long titles. So it's Chilling in Another World with My Level 2 Super Cheap Powers. This is the manga. I read volume 6 and 7. So these are... So if anyone doesn't know the story, this one's a little different from your typical isekai because the main character comes from a fantasy world and then is transported to a different fantasy world. So in this, he was a merchant in his old world, but kind of got bogged down with bureaucracy and things like that. It's like, okay, I can't be nice to everyone because the merchant guild has all the power and won't let me be a merchant I want to be. So he gets transported to this new world. It's kind of similar to his old one, but different. But then his level 2 cheap power kind of makes it so he doesn't really have to worry about much. And he decides, I'm going to be the merchant I always wanted to be. He meets some crazy characters, and fast forward to 6 and 7. 6, this feels like kind of the end of an arc almost, and the beginning of another one. Yeah. Because it's the end of the big scene at the onsen, where they get attacked by... So there's a Dark One / Demon Lord kind of person. He got rid of his title, and he's not retired, but he gave it up to kind of not do that anymore. So the one who took over kind of crashed the onsen, and there's some other side characters that are always causing trouble. So it was a big to-do, and that kind of ends in volume 6. And then in 7, it kind of shifts to, okay, you have these two big political powers. You have the humans, and then you have the demons. They're always at each other. And then, so the main character is called Fleo.
Okay.
I think that's his name. He wants to be a merchant and wants to help people, but he's kind of like, I don't want to pick a side because I think both sides aren't really handling this whole situation correctly.
Okay.
So it's like, we're a big enough power now where people aren't going to mess with us, but if we pick a side, are we going to then be forced to stay there? So it's kind of like the dilemma of how are we going to do what we want to do? Like, we're just merchants. We sell people things, but we don't want to sell more to someone else and then have the other one say, no, we're going to come after you now. So it's like that. So it's kind of going more on the political side in Volume 7. And then next I read Reborn as a Space Mercenary. I woke up piloting the strongest starship manga Volume 1. Another long title. But this one's...
I wonder what it's about.
Yeah, it's kind of... It's not obvious at all.
No, not even a little bit.
It's a person... You don't even know how they got there. They just woke up and they're on a spaceship. And it's supposedly similar to a game they were playing. So the main character is from Earth-like place. Transported, finds on a spaceship very similar to a spaceship he was playing in a game. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like, okay, I have this crazy spaceship. Now what? So he starts by doing what you would do in a spaceship. Fly around, fighting pirates, going to space stations, meeting people. It's one of those, I think this was a light novel first.
I believe it was, yes.
Yeah, and I've noticed this in a lot of light novel manga, is that because it's a light novel, you don't have to hook people right away like you would in other things, because the story is the whole light novel.
Right, you have more time.
But with the manga, it's like you have those chapters, and it's like there's no huge hook right at the beginning.
Uh-huh.
You think about Shonen Jumps or other big manga that are just manga, and they have like really strong first few chapters.
Right.
These are more like it's slowly building up to something interesting, but it doesn't happen in the first volume. There's a cool spaceship fight scene in like the first chapter, and then it's just him learning about what space is like and the space station and getting a crew member and joining the Mercenaries Guild, and they're about to do a big mission, and that's where it ends.
Okay.
So it's one of those, like, the hook is that it's space, which is very rare, in my opinion, for these kind of stories. So that got me there.
Yeah.
But if it was set anywhere else, I think this would be kind of a very slow start to a series.
Okay.
So it's interesting because it's space, but I think if the next one... Because the next one's supposed to be a huge space battle, because they're going after a pirate base with all these different mercenaries. So that's going to be the next... That's going to be the test. Is this going to be interesting enough to keep reading it? And it's like, okay, I hope it is, because there's very few space stories.
Yeah.
And all of these... Eden Zero and this one are... Oh, I guess Die Dark is as well.
Die Dark. Knights of Sidonia.
I haven't read that.
There are Planetes.
Oh, that is true. I haven't read that either, and that's supposed to be really good.
Planetes is very good.
Yeah.
I have to go find my copy and I will lend it to you because it is...
Okay.
It is short, but it's extremely good.
But for this one, for the Space Mercenary one, it's very... There's ideas that it's going to be interesting. Mm-hmm. Just the first volume doesn't really get that across yet.
Okay.
And, okay, yeah, if it's from a light novel, then that kind of makes sense, because the light novel probably will do, like, a whole story.
Yeah, it has more time.
Whereas the manga is like, okay, well, we have to tell this whole story, but we can't do it in one chapter. So, it's interesting. I think I'll pick up the next one, but I have to see how it goes. And then the other thing is, I finally saw that Disney movie Wish, which is supposed to be the 100th Disney animation movie, and it's fine. It's not, because I heard a lot of reviews like, okay, this is going to be, it's terrible, things like that. It's like, it's fine. It's not terrible. It's not amazing. I think they tried to do too much in it. There's too much nostalgia kind of tucked in it. We're trying to hint at all these things that's happened throughout all of our 100 movies, and
yeah,
it's trying to tell a story really fast and introduce a lot of characters, and then halfway through I'm like, I don't remember half of these people's names.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen it?
No,
okay.
But I've seen reviews.
Yeah.
And I've seen more than 5 seconds of the main song, and I still want to stab myself in the ears with a ballpoint pen.
Yeah.
Like, it's so bad, that song.
Yeah. Some of the songs are interesting, but it's also the way that they're presented feels very, okay, these are just people sitting here singing. It's not like doing it up like crazy visuals or things like that. So they're just kind of sitting around singing. It's like, that's not how you do these movies. You're just supposed to be crazy stuff going on, or doing all these kind of things, breaking the fourth wall. And it's like, okay, yeah, this is not that.
Yeah, I have no intention of seeing it, but like, even the reviews that were like very critical of it, it's like, if you were to look at this piece just by itself, it's fine.
Yeah.
But in part of this whole, it's just bad. It's just not something. But I haven't seen it, so I can't really say. And I'm never going to see it, so I don't care.
I've definitely seen worse movies, and Disney has definitely released worse movies.
What would you say is a worse movie than this?
The problem is I don't know if I've watched them all the way through. I didn't love Lady and the Tramp, Oliver. I've never actually seen Dark Cauldron, so I can't tell. I don't know if that's actually worse or not.
Yeah.
But I've definitely, as a whole, I've seen movies that I'm like, this is bad. But so this isn't bad. It's just okay. And I don't know if that's good or not. It's like, it's okay.
Not. It's not good.
Yeah.
It's a Disney animated feature film. Okay.
Yeah.
Might as well be bad.
And it's supposed to celebrate the 100th animation film.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fine. Yeah. We'll just leave it at that.
Okay, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So what have you been up to?
So I haven't had as much time this week as I normally do, and so I haven't read as much as I normally do. I've still found a way to make this take 20 minutes, so don't worry. Anyone who wants this to be an extremely short part of the series, you're not getting it. But I've basically only read 2 series over the course of this last week. The first one is An Archdemon's Dilemma, How to Love Your Elf Bride, Volume 1. For reasons, again, like last time, it was my choice for the thing. That will make sense very soon if you weren't paying attention. If you were paying attention, I don't have to explain why.
Yes. I forgot.
But that's fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to remember. I'm the one explaining what's happening with it later.
Perfect.
You just get to hang out and say, Oh.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, it's very nice.
Yep. Really? Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha.
So we could just splice that in and I could just head out now?
No. No. You have to physically stay there. You can turn your mic off, but you have to physically stay there. The other thing I ended up reading was the rest of Enough with the Slow Life. I was reincarnated as a high elf, and now I'm bored. Volumes 4 through 8. I had looked some things up, and I had a feeling that this might be true, but now that I have finished it, that is the entire series. It ends on book 8.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's what I was going to ask.
So I read the entire rest of the series. For people who weren't listening last week, this is a story of someone who's reincarnated as a high elf, which is basically a super elf, who's inside of a secret part inside of a giant forest. But he was actually from Japan, was reborn as a high elf, but he doesn't really have many distinct memories because it starts when he's 120 years old. And he only realized he was a high elf when he was 30, because that's how slow high elves age. They live 1,000 years and then become a spirit and live forever.
Oh.
But they usually stay in their forest, and so in this story, he decides to just go out and explore. The first couple books are about a bunch of different things. I talked about them a lot last week, and then the rest of the books, he continues to go and do more things. Book 4 is the mandatory Japanese isekai part where they go to isekai Japan.
Ah, okay.
So that's where he spends most of that time. He finds out more about the Japanese swordsmanship school that he knew from earlier in the series with Kaiha, who I'm not going to say anything more about because she's a massive part of the beginning of the story and continues to be through the whole series. But that whole relationship is one of the best parts of those first couple books. So I don't want to spoil anything, but you probably already have a good idea with me saying I'm not going to spoil anything about this random female character who's already died.
Ah, yes.
Being a big part of the story. So 4 is a lot about this Isekai Japan, and he starts discovering more about the 5 great creatures, the high elves, which is what he is, the spirits, which exist everywhere and basically runs his magic, the phoenixes, the dragons, and the giants. And he starts learning about them. Book 5, he returns back to the forest where he was from, and there's a lot of time with the other high elves, and he understands more of why he became the way he was and why the high elves treated him the way they did. And this is not a story that's very dramatic. Like I said last time, it's very melancholic. It's about someone who lives for 1,000 years, where the second longest living type of character in the story is an elf who only lives 750.
Okay.
Mermaids live 500, dwarves live 300, humans live normal, and humans and pretty much everyone else lives normal amounts. And he's mostly around humans. And so it's just him constantly meeting people and watching them die. Not like, it's not a sad story in that most of the events are not him like sitting around crying, but it's melancholic of just, yep, I met this person. We had a great 4 to 6 years of the course of these 15 pages. And then I said goodbye and like, maybe we'll meet again, and walked away. And I know I will never see them again for all time. Mm-hmm. It just will never happen. By the time I come back, it'll be 120 years. So book 5, he goes back to the High Elves. You meet more of the people that he knew existed that didn't come up in the story very much. You understand more of what High Elves are and where they came from. He also meets a phoenix, which is another big part of that series. The High Elves populate the planet. The phoenixes transport people to and from where the giants are. The giants record everything. The spirits provide nature with energy, and the dragons are there to protect and or destroy everything as needed.
So does it come out to they're all just kind of building this world? Or do they build the world and they're just kind of Overwatch?
The world sort of exists, and they're mostly just watching.
Okay.
The spirits are just sort of around. It's like spirits you see in all sorts of other like fantasy media. Like in the wind, there are wind spirits. In the water, there are water spirits. They're just high elves who died in the past but still exist forever. But they've sort of lost any sense of self.
Okay. But you said like the high elves populate the planet. The giants record everything.
The high elves are the ones who will, when the dragons destroy everything, the high elves are the ones who come back and guide the spirits to taking basically a completely glassed planet and putting stuff back on it. Growing plants, rivers, mountains, and all of that.
Does this happen often?
So in book 6, he goes out west to find his adopted son, who's ended up in a war versus humans and on the sides of the Beastmen, and there's this giant war that he's there for. But he also has to stop and build an elf kingdom, who also got overrun by the humans and all of that. And so that's book 6, probably the most battle intense. Okay. There's always like a fight or two in the series. It's never people talking. It's actually mostly prose. There's not a ton of dialogue. It's a lot of, well, I spent 3 years here and this is what I did. And then I made this thing and this is what happened. It's well written, but there's not a lot of dialogue. And so he goes off, he meets his adopted son, who's now...
Yeah, much older now.
By percentage of his age, much older than him, because he is a half-elf, so he'll only live 250 years. Barely anything. And so he goes off and helps them, helps deal with the person who's behind the humans, attacking all the beast races and elves and everything all around this other half of the continent. And ultimately, book 6 ends up with the main character, Acer, the high elf, not so much in a romantic relationship, but just together with an elf from the series. If you've read any of this, you can probably guess who, but it was kind of obvious it was going to get there. But it's not really like a romantic plot. It's just like, well, everybody we know is all dying, so we're just going to like hang out together for pretty much the rest of the series.
Okay.
And so that up to here has been about 150 years of the story.
From where?
So the series started with Acer at 120.
Yep.
At the end of book 6, he's about 260, 250, 240, 260. And then book 7 and 8, he goes from 260 to 1,000.
Wow. Okay. So a lot of time skipping.
And then post-epilogue, there's another 2,000 years jumped ahead again. For reasons I'm not going to talk about because it's extreme spoilers. But yeah, so book 7, book 6, you have met the giants. So Acer has met all of the mythical races. Book 7 starts with the southern continent has been destroyed by the dragons. By the southern dragon has just glassed the entire continent. Everything is dead.
Wow. Okay.
Some of the high elves from there, for reasons I will not explain, again, spoilers, even though this isn't really a plot-heavy story, decides to come north and destroy the rest of the planet to cause the end, because the end has happened before, and it will happen again, and this elf has decided to do it now.
Okay.
So Acer, who has also met the dragon of the Northern Continent, he and that dragon go and fight the other high elf and dragon to a standstill to keep everyone you've ever known from being destroyed. So that's the majority of that book. Is, well, not even the majority. That's just like the first quarter, and then it goes back to its more travelogue, random adventures.
Okay.
And other side characters who come in are really interesting. Stuff happens, and then you realize you'll never see them again because they're going to die. And then you get to book 8, and so then this is a book where the first half is kind of the whole book. And I think that's, so there's two things about the story that I feel like I have to say to sort of summarize my thoughts on it. And book 8 is, yes, he goes from 400 to dead. He dies at the end. You get to the end of Acer's life, where he grows to 1,000-year-old, dies, becomes a spirit. Everything goes full circle.
Which was gonna happen. Yeah.
Which was gonna happen. Yeah. So there's two parts of this that I feel like are worth pointing out. One is how I felt like the story went. It feels like this was a story that was like, oh, it did the first book, and then, oh, we got a better idea for the second book, and it's like, third book is even better, and the fourth book is even better, and fifth book is even better, sixth book is even better. But the moment it's like not quite as good, he's like, okay, we're gonna end it. It's like book 6 was like, book 6 is really good, but I'm like kind of not sure how it's gonna go, and so it's like, okay, 2 books, and then we're gonna be done.
So did it feel rushed then?
They don't so much feel rushed. It kind of makes sense why time goes a lot faster, but not really. It could have been drawn out a lot longer, but at the same time, it was like, there's even still moments in this where it's like, this feels like a wild tangent with this other character who we're just going to see for a while, and then has nothing to do with anything, and then will go away.
Okay.
But it feels like book 6 is when it was like, okay, this is sort of all of our major plot points except one we've done. And then book 7 is 8 is like, okay, we're going to bring it to an end. And it's done well. It maybe is rushed. It maybe could have been longer. But 7 and 8 are not bad. They're very good. But it was like, okay, we're going to bring this to an end. And everything will be over. And book 8 is very much the most melancholy because it's everyone has died. And the few people who are left, who are important, you watch die and you say goodbye to them and they get buried and you see their end and everything is sort of finished. There's still things that are unexpected. Acer and the elf that he lives with in this last 2 books, they have another child that they adopt who's human. Okay. And what happens with them is not at all what you expect to happen. It's very different. And every one of these stories is usually about loss or about saying goodbye or watching time pass. And every once in a while, things go in a very different direction. There are fights, there are challenges, there are all these things that happen. But you know Acer is always going to end up surviving. Except for like one fight in like book 2. And even then, like 5 pages, and it's like, oh, okay. I don't know if he's going to come out unharmed, but he's not going to die.
Yeah.
And even now, there's like, well, there's like 6 more books. Like, you know, he's not going to. Like, well, yes, but that's not the way the story plays everything. It's always, okay, they want this to happen. I'm going to think about how I want to do this, and I'm going to look at what they're trying to do. And depending on what they're trying to do, we'll decide what I do, and then I'm just going to do that. It's very good.
Okay.
I made a joke before, and I'll make it again, of we have free rent at home. now I would not say that it's like free rent.
Okay.
Because A, it comes to an end.
Well,
and
yeah.
B, free rent very much went in a different direction.
Okay.
Of talking about what happens after the heroes have saved the world? What happens to all the things that were left behind? What happens to the people who were part of it, watching the other people in this most important thing they've ever done in their life, think about them after they're gone? It's very focused on the loss and the next steps, and nothing was, while things were changed, it's not everything.
Okay.
This is very much focused on what it would feel like to see the things you've done in the past and know you have no more connection to them. There's a fantastic scene in the 8th book near the end of the main section where Acer is just out in this city that he's been to multiple times. That's been one of the most important places he's been. And he sees someone with a necklace that he made in book 2 for one of the earliest characters in the series that he and his adopted son Win made. And he sees someone, he has no idea who it is, wearing that necklace from across the room, and that's it. He's just like, oh, that person has that necklace, and it looks like it's been taken care of. Anyway, moving on. It's that kind of a, you're right, it's been 700 years. There's so many parts of chapters which is just like, well, this kingdom died, and then this person came in, and then they changed the name to this, and then this is, and it's like, at a certain point, like, I can't remember the names anymore. But that's what he's going through too. And even though Acer is this kind of person who's both emotionally and physically equipped to handle watching everybody he knows pass away, you still feel that with him, and you can tell, you get a lot of that sense of like, this is what it would be like to go through this. And it's a really fascinating and well written and very, how do I put it? Very honest, very compassionate telling of all of this.
Okay.
And the very last section, post-epilogue, there's a lot of great things in the epilogue, and there's a lot of great things with what happens after he dies that is very stupid. Very, very funny, very interesting, and it doesn't undo anything, but it's like you hear like one of his final wishes sort of at like the end of the story, because he's going to become a spirit. And it's like, well, what kind of spirit would you like to be? It's like, well, I'd kind of like to become this. And the story's like, okay, let's just jump 2,000 years in the future and see him like that kind of a spirit. And it's like, okay, yeah, this is a fun little ending.
Yeah.
The last thing I will say is, just because I know I always talk about how much I don't like the side stories, I don't like the extra bits. This book series always has 2 kinds of side stories. It has a set of side stories of things that were sort of tangential to the main plot from Acer's perspective, but like a small side event. When he's in Isekai Japan, it's like, oh, well, here's this one random day where he was off going shopping with the other people from Isekai Japan for some reason. It's not really important, but it's like more color to the events. And then there's another set of side stories that are other people's memories and thoughts about the things that happened because of Acer happening at that time in the series. They may be remembering something that happened in a previous book, but this is them remembering during this book.
Oh, okay.
There's like 4 to 6 side stories per section per book. Some of them are as little as like 2 pages. Some are like 5 or 10. But they're good at giving more context and adding to the rest of the story. Some of them are excruciatingly sad. I have cried reading book 8. There's a couple points where it's like, okay, yeah, you finally got me. Yep. It's not the saddest story out there.
Yep.
It's not dark at all. Even at the moments when it's like, yeah, this high elf has decided to kill everyone on the planet because this terrible thing happened on the southern continent. Even then, even at its darkest moments, it's not that dark, but it's the best word is just melancholy. Okay. And it's really good. It's fantastic. I highly recommend it. We might do an episode on it. It's already on my top 5 for 2025.
Nice.
Like, no question.
I think the only question I had is, in the beginning you said this started off as with the name of the story, it is someone who was reborn here. Does that come into play ever? Because it sounded like he just pretty much forgot in book 1 that ever happened.
Yeah, that's a fair question. So, yes, no, and I can't tell you.
Okay.
And I'll explain what I mean by that. So, yes, he recognizes that he remembers a few things about Japan, and he recognizes that he probably has some weird thoughts about things, because he does remember bits and pieces of Japan and our sort of modern world. The idea of like a car could exist or an airplane could exist. He remembers those sorts of things, but No, because he doesn't try to bring any of those things into this world.
Ah, okay.
Even the times when he has those memories, he doesn't try to use them to adapt things or change things. He's just sort of like, oh yeah, I remember that was a thing. But anyway, this is this world.
Okay.
Partly because he's already so powerful with the spirits that he doesn't need to do anything using his old world knowledge.
I see.
And finally, I'm not telling you because spoilers,
Okay.
because I can't tell you.
Fair enough. Okay.
But I will say that's not a major part of the story.
Okay.
Even including the spoilery stuff I can't tell you. It's a small thing.
Yeah, because like you've read plenty of other ones where they're just trying to bring in as much of the modern world into this new world.
Yeah, there's almost none of that.
Okay.
At all.
That's...
If there's... Yeah, and he basically does absolutely none of that, unless I'm forgetting something small.
Okay, yeah, because I'll...
How to cook fish.
Ah, okay.
Like one time, maybe, and even then, he doesn't really cook that much.
Okay. Yeah, because a lot of them do it a lot.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I got to bring everything. I have my smartphone and... Yeah, but...
It has a point in the story.
Okay.
And it's never forgotten.
Okay.
But you could almost forget, and the story would continue almost exactly the same.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. It's like, does it really matter that he was reborn? He could have just...
It does.
Okay.
And it is involved in a lot of things. And it is important for why this whole story happens.
Mm-hmm.
But not in the way that it sounds like I'm saying it is.
Okay.
It will ultimately be a very minor thing.
Okay.
I think the biggest thing that which you do sort of get from early on is it gives him his personality, because elves generally stay in the forest. High elves stay in the secret part, inside the secret part, inside the secret part of the forest. But because he has these memories, he already knows what humans are like and what other things are out there in the world without even having left. So he knows that there are interesting things out there.
Okay.
Which is part of what drives him to go out. And that
makes sense.
Mostly what its involvement is in the story is it creates the kind of person who becomes Acer.
Okay.
Who he was in Japan, if he was a boy or a girl, if he died in the past. No, you don't learn any of that.
Just that he's here now.
You just know that he used to live in Japan. He's here now. He has some memories from it, but they're so old and they're so faded that it kind of doesn't really do anything.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And what's the name again?
Enough with this slow life. I was reincarnated as a high elf, and now I'm bored. It is a light novel series by Rarutori. It is 8 books. There is also a manga of it. I'm almost certain the manga is still ongoing. There's not enough books of it yet.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're available in English. A manga does exist. There may not be an English version of it. Let's go with that for now.
Okay. Sounds good.
I cannot find it. Very good series. Extremely good.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll read it at some point.
Yes, you should.
Yeah.
You should. So our main topic for today, we're going to be covering the first volume of An Archdemon's Dilemma, How to Love Your Elf Bride. This was written by Fuminori Teshima. The first version came out in 2017, and it was released in English about a year later in 2018. There are currently 19 volumes, 18 of which have been released in English.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's translated by J Novel Club. Yeah, it's a long series. And there's a lot about this that doesn't come up in the first couple books.
Is it done?
No. As far as I know, no. I've read the 18 volumes. I don't think there's a way they could finish it in one more book.
There's another book coming out in June.
Yeah, it could be finished by 20.
Okay.
But even then, I could see it not. And that's if they decide to end it. Push to get to the end in books 19 and 20. That could be possible. But I wouldn't be surprised if it kept going for a while. Mm-hmm. There is a main overarching plot. There is a lot going on. It has one of the coolest true villains of a light novel series that I've seen in a long time, even if it's not the most original thing. It has some of the best combat and magic in a light novel, and almost none of that comes up in the first book, because the first book is getting things started, and it's not bad, but there needs to be things sort of put in place first for all of this to happen.
Okay.
I do want to stress that and start off again with this. The first book's really good, everybody. It's not bad. It's just, it's going to get even better as it goes. And some of the things that it feels like the story will be about in the first book, once you get to books 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, it's like, oh, like they're still parts, but this story has definitely shifted. I think the shortest way to put that is when you hear the title, An Archdemon's Dilemma, How to Love Your Elf Bride, you're thinking romantic comedy. It's really more like Dan to Dan.
Okay.
Or Bleach. Or any other shonen type like battle manga, which also has like a central romantic couple. That's a lot more of what the story will actually be like. Even though the title makes it seem like, no, it's just a romantic comedy. It's not. That's a big part of it, and it will always be there. But this story goes very heavy into magic super battles and things all the time. So I do want to point that out just because it's a very, just from the title, you might think it's like, oh, it's this. No, it's not. It has that. It's a big part of it. Romantic comedy is a huge part of it. But there's a lot more fighting and battles and things like that that go on in the story. Just not so much in the first book.
Okay.
But again, the first book's really good. We are going to be talking about the first book. I am going to be spoiling everything in the first book. I'm not going to be spoiling it as much as I can from the rest of the series. But we might mention a couple things that do come up on accident as we go. And you haven't read any of this.
Correct. I have not read any of it. There is also a manga, if anyone's interested in that. It's probably well behind this. I think there are 12 books.
Yep.
There's 12.
That sounds about right.
The 12th one comes out in May. So if you want to read those instead, there's those as well.
There's also an anime.
Oh, okay.
Which came out last year. Quite short. It looks like it's only 12 episodes, and it seems to only cover the first 2 books of the series.
Which is probably pretty typical.
Yep. I would say, from what I remember the series, book 3 and book 4 is where it starts to really shift from the initial kind of romantic comedy with a lot of action to the more shonen, battle manga, dan other, those type of series type story. So that's kind of the point where it's like, okay, yes, this is still a really good part and everything about this is going to be really fun, but the really crazy stuff that happens in the series takes a lot longer. So
okay.
I have not seen the anime. I have not read the manga. I've only read the light novels. But I would, to again, just start off by saying this before everything else. It's really good, everybody. You should check it out because it's great. To give a somewhat extended synopsis of the story, the prologue, I'm going to walk through this chapter by chapter for a reason I'm going to get to when we get to chapter 2. But the prologue is basically just a scene from later in chapter 1, so we're just going to skip over it. It's just like a cold open into what happens in chapter 1. Chapter 1, we start off with our main sorcerer, Zagan, who is considered an evil sorcerer because that's what sorcerers are in this medieval fantasy world. It's not a classical fantasy world, but it's European Middle Ages era, early Renaissance type culture, and the 2 main powers that are fighting against each other are the sorcerers, who the most powerful of which are the archdemons, of which there are 13, against the church, most powerful of which are the angelic knights. Top of the angelic knights having the sacred swords, of which there are 12, and the angelic knight's job is to go around and defeat sorcerers. And sorcerers will generally kick the crap out of them. Sorcerers are extraordinarily powerful and pretty much just do whatever they want. But there are not an extraordinary number of them. You'll eventually find out there's like beast races and other races and peoples and things in the world. There's lion men, there's elves, obviously from the title, there's humans, there are other different types of people out there. Anyone can become a sorcerer, but most people cannot, not because there's something that prevents them, but it involves a lot of studying, a lot of knowledge, a lot of power, and a willingness to use that power, because sorcerers will also kill the shit out of each other for any reason that they decide. Either they're in the way, they want what they have, or they just feel like it.
Okay, so there's the demons, but you have archdemons, right?
No, archdemons are not demons. They are sorcerers. They're just the title for the 13 most powerful sorcerers.
Gotcha, okay.
They're called archdemons. As far as you know at the start of the series, and as far as everyone in the world knows at the start of, there are no such things as demons. It's just a term.
Okay, so you got the 13 archdemons.
Yep.
And you got the 13 angelic knights, or 12. 12 angelic
12
knights.
sacred swords.
12 sacred swords. Okay. So then they pretty much go at each other, or they kind of leave each other alone if they...
Generally, no. The archdemons are powerful enough that all of the sacred sword users going against them probably would still lose against most archdemons. They are that much further powerful. Sacred sword users could probably take down a normal sorcerer and win, and a group of angelic knights can take down maybe a sorcerer.
A regular sorcerer.
A regular sorcerer.
Okay.
Sorcerer power levels are a much wider range of levels.
Okay.
There are lots of people who are extremely powerful but are not archdemons, because there can only be 13.
I don't know if this is covered in book 1, but what separates an archdemon from a regular sorcerer?
An archdemon, you do ultimately find out what they get, and we'll cover that, but they are selected by the other remaining archdemons to become one of them.
I see.
So it's basically like a club, and it's generally the archdemons are the most powerful. But if you're not selected to be part of that group, you might still be extraordinarily powerful, but not one of the archdemons.
Okay.
The other thing to know about sorcerers is most sorcerers have a specific type of magic that they're extremely good at.
Okay, yep.
Zagan, you will find out, is extremely good at 2 things: body enhancement and counter sorcery, but it works not in the way you expect. Another character who you meet in this first chapter, Barbados, his best sorcery is in teleportation and moving through shadows. The other actual sorcerer you see is someone called Face Peeler, who, as you can guess from the fact that his name is Face Peeler, is both really evil and doesn't last very long because he gets killed in this first chapter.
Okay.
He is a sorcerer who basically, his magic runs using people's faces that he cuts off of them while they're alive.
Okay, yeah.
The way to understand sorcerers is they aren't truly evil, but they're power hungry, and they're therefore probably very evil. Face Peeler, the way and it's not you have your magic. It is something you study. It is something you draw magic circles and all of these intricate designs. It's not, oh, I wake up and this is my power. No, you research and you study and you decide what you're studying. And to give far more time to Face Peeler than he deserves, his magic, he uses the faces of people that he's cut off while they're alive to put more magical energy into the spells that he does.
Okay.
And so to get the most power, it has to be a beautiful woman who is alive while he cuts their face off.
But he decided that.
That is how he decided to fuel his magic. Yes.
Okay. It's not that anyone can do that. It's that he studied enough to make that happen.
He studied magic, and he decided to use this method to gain the energy to fuel the magic that he does. Yes.
Okay.
What does his magic do? You don't know, because in basically the first section of this book, Zagan is walking along around his castle, and we'll talk a little bit more about Zagan in a second, but he's walking around, and a man is attacking a woman nearby his castle, and it's Face Peeler attacking another character who we'll talk about more in a minute, Chastille, one of the sacred sword users. And content warning / the other thing about the story is it is an extremely dark world in a lot of places, as you can probably already guess from people like Face Peeler.
Yeah.
But Face Peeler is attacking Chastille and has basically, by attacking her with surprise because he was pretending to be one of her allies who he had already killed, he basically attacked her, disarmed her, got her sword away from her, and is about to cut her face off and then rape her dead body.
Okay.
And at that moment, Zagan walks up, picks him up by the head, and just blows his head up. Just like grabs him by the head and just crushes his head in his hands. And Chasteel, like, faints at this because, like, all this is going on. And he's like, I don't really want to kill this person. I don't want to deal with this, like, random woman on my thing. It's like, okay, I'm just going to teleport her off my property. Bye. It's not my problem anymore. Zagan is not nice, but he doesn't intend to do harm.
Oh.
You learn more about where he came from, even in this book, and it makes a lot more sense. Zagan is, as I said, the main character of the story. He is 18, which is extremely young, even for a sorcerer. He has only been a sorcerer for 10 years. Barbados, who's probably one of the other youngest sorcerers we'll meet in this, is still in like his 40s or 50s. Another thing sorcerers can do, everyone can do some physical enhancements. And one of the things that's very common is eternal youth and unaging. Although after about 1,000 years, even then your body just gives out. So pretty much every sorcerer can live for about 1,000 years.
Okay.
But anyway, he's like, I don't really want to kill this woman, so kicks her out. At this time, Barbados, who is known as the Purgatory, sorcerers have second names. Zagan hasn't gotten his second name yet. Barbados the Purgatory, whose ability is teleportation, just teleports into Zagan's courtyard because he can do that, because he's that good at teleportation magic. Magic is, like I said, circles and runes and inscriptions. You learn more later that it's also, you won't just write your effect and then, like, say, powered up. You'll write other effects into it to make it hard for other sorcerers to understand, and you'll write other additional effects to prevent them from taking control of your spell, and you'll write other effects on top of that to make it work in a certain way. So the other thing about people who are very specialized in something, Zagan can teleport to some degree, but Barbados can teleport into someone else's castle that they've already surrounded with thousands of magic circles to protect it from other people entering. A normal person walking to Zagan's castle will literally just get lost in the fog and get kicked out a different way and won't even get close. A sorcerer will come and there'll be all these barriers that they'll have to blow through and traps that will try to kill them. Barbados is just like, okay, I'm through. Because he just teleports to the other side.
So you can skip everything.
Yeah, his skill is teleportation, so all the things that Zagan would do to try to stop him, he can just get around. Those are sort of the basics of magic, condensed down a lot. And that is one of the really great things about this story, is the magic system, while it's never really explicit and it's never really hard and fast rules of, oh, well, this symbol means that, the ideas behind it are thought out and brought up and used over and over again and continue to build up as the story goes. So there's a lot of intricate things with the magic, and everyone has researched their own magic, everyone has very, very unique powers.
Cool.
So
that'll be interesting.
Everyone does something really cool. So Barbados is teleport, Zagan is physical enhancement and counterspell, which we'll get to in a bit, because it doesn't come up for a while. But Barbados comes over and is like, hey, did you hear one of the archdemons has died? One of the ones who also lived nearby has died after being about 1,000 years old, and they're having an auction to sell off all of his stuff, including his legacy. And it's like, yeah, okay, I guess I'll go.
And at this point, Zagan's already an archdemon, right?
No, Zagan is just a sorcerer. He has a castle that you find out he stole from the sorcerer that he killed to become a sorcerer.
Okay.
But he has this castle, and he has a bunch of stuff, but he's just there studying his own sorcery, just doing whatever he does. So Barbados invites him to the auction. Zagan goes there, and to cut a lot of things short and skip over everything else, when he's there, the archdemon Marchosias, I have no idea how to say his name, and I don't even know how to spell it. But the archdemon who died, one of the things was an elf girl with snow white hair who has basically emotionally stopped feeling anything, is completely docile. But elves are huge reserves of mana. Elves with snow white hair are an exponential level beyond that.
Okay.
But this archdemon died before whatever reason he took this elf for was able to be used, so she's just here and they're putting her up for auction. And as you can guess by the title of this, Zagan immediately falls absolutely in love with her. And they're like, we'll start the bidding at 10,000, and Zagan throws his hand up and is like, 1 million. And that's the end of the auction. He has 1 million gold in his castle. He spends all of it on this elf, who you find out is Nephalia, nickname, and the name we'll be using, Neffy. And so he just buys her immediately and takes her back to his castle. And this jumps back to where the prologue is, which is the way their relationship will be in this, which is the big comedy part. Zagan does not know how to talk to girls. At all. As you would expect from an 18-year-old who's been a sorcerer for 10 years and lives in a castle by himself.
Makes sense.
And because he hasn't had to care anything about this, and he's just been living in the sorcerer's castle, it starts off with him sitting on his throne, Neffy standing there with like skeletons hanging off the walls, cages and rusted torture implements all around the room. And Zagan is sitting in his chair trying to think about how to say hello for an hour, saying nothing before Neffy finally just asks, like, okay, well, what are you going to do with me? Oh, yes, right. And again, to cut this short, because it is very funny scenes, it's this, Zagan cannot talk normal. So he always sounds like a pompous, evil bastard whenever he talks to her.
Okay.
Hear me, Neffy. I have decided that this shall be what we shall do. Every time that he talks to others tends to go that direction. But basically Neffy, and what's in this book and does go away, because Neffy and Zagan's character change a lot. Like their relationship grows fairly quickly, which we'll even talk about. But Neffy basically starts out as like, I'm just waiting to die. I don't care about anything. So whenever Zagan says anything, all right, Neffy, we're going to go up. It's like, oh, okay, we're going to go up. You can hang me by my hands, my feet, my neck. I don't really care. It's like, where did that come from? Oh, sorry, force of habit. Because Neffy is an elf from a village that was attacked by humans, but she had been considered a cursed child her entire life. So when the humans invaded and they asked for her to help protect them, she said, fuck you, and just let the humans kill them all and take her prisoner. And she's just been waiting to die. Because, again, extremely dark world with a lot of comedy randomly placed on top. To go back to that comedy, Zagan is like, okay, well, I need to give you a room. So we'll go up, and they go up into this tower. And it's like, okay, Neffy, I've decided that this shall be your room. And he opens the door, and it's just full of more torture implements. And there's just a guillotine hanging in the middle of the room. And he immediately slams the door. Wait, brain processing. Then he makes this huge magic circle of like a lightning bolt, opens the door, throws it in, slams the door. The room explodes. The door from that room that he had just closed falls off its hinges, and everything in the room is gone, and it's all been replaced by black soot. It's like, yes, this is your room. But there's also some really cute moments. There's also, they're up in this tower and they're looking out at the night sky, and Neffy reaches out to the moon, and Zagan doesn't know why, but he also just reaches out and is like, can't seem to reach it. It's like, yeah, it's the moon. You can't get it. Yep. Anyway.
Obviously. Yeah.
Yeah. But there is that, and there's Neffy gets the sense very quickly that Zagan like also tells her, he can't tell her that, like, I love you. I want to be together with you. But he's like, I don't need you to die. I need you to be alive. You will not be used for an experiment. What will I use you for? That's not important. Don't ask.
You don't need to know that right now.
This is the end of chapter 1 into most of chapter 2 is continuing this, and this is another one of the things about this story that's so good. The writing is really good, and sometimes in really weird ways, but one of the things that it does so well, the names of the chapters of this story are so fucking good. This chapter 2 of the two of them now like together living in here, and Zagan's like, okay, well, I gotta go get you clothes. Oh yeah, I only eat dried meat and milk that's like going sour because I don't care. Because I'm a sorcerer. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Why would I spend time thinking about food when I could be studying sorcery? Which is very much the thing that a sorcerer is. Like, they don't care. Why would I eat nice food? It doesn't help me. I'll eat to stay alive and continue learning sorcery.
I see. Okay.
All the like, okay, we're going to go out and we're going to get Neffy clothes and things. And the title of this chapter about Zagan being completely incapable of talking normally to her is The First Love of Someone with a Communication Disorder is Similar to the Taste of Moldy Bread. That's like such a perfect summary of what it is, what Zagan is throughout this whole book and most of the story, and especially this chapter. And There is a long part about this about moldy bread too, because let's also work that into the story. We meet one of the other random characters. We meet Manuela, who works at a clothing store, who is half bird woman. In this story, they have wings on their back, but she has normal hands and feet. And because this is weirdly dark, but also comedic, it's the classic Japanese clothing store person who will force people to wear incredibly revealing clothing just for the fun of it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So does that and then gets Neffy normal clothes and all of that. And we learned that Chastille, around this time, who is one of the sacred sword users, they think they've gotten most of Face Peeler, but they believe that the actual culprit is someone named Zagan. You know, the name of the sorcerer this whole book is about.
What do you mean
The church believes that Zagan is the one behind it.
Oh, behind Face Peeler?
Behind Face Peeler and all these other events that they had been investigating
I see.
before the story started that led to what happened. Chastille at this point knows that it was Zagan who saved her, and so decides to continue investigating, hoping to prove that they're innocent. This gets us to chapter 3. Again, great title for what's going to happen. It's terrifying when a normally quiet child gets angry. Chastille and her 3 knights go to Zagan's castle, and you learn about the sacred swords, which can literally cut through sorcery. There's this huge set of barriers that protect Zagan's castle. Chastille draws her sword and just cuts them, and they just all break, because that's what a sacred sword can do. They also have armor that boosts their physical abilities. Not as much as a sorcerer can, but that's how they can almost be on par with a sorcerer.
Okay. Yep.
Her 3 knights go up against Zagan, and Zagan ultimately beats the crap out of them.
Yeah.
Without killing them. Chastille starts fighting him, but is trying to get him to just leave the area because she knows that he saved her. She knows some other things that he's done that were in some of the earlier chapters where it's like he's done moderately good things. He hasn't gone out of his way to make people's lives better, but like he sees people getting attacked by bandits and he just gets rid of the bandits. He's done things that are not necessarily good, but other people have decided were good things that he did. And he isn't killing, torturing, attacking people just because he can.
Okay.
Take your stuff and go. And then I will, you can go somewhere else and it'll be fine. And then this is when Neffy shows up. And Neffy, thinking that Zagan is going to be killed, freaks out and, activates superpowers where all of a sudden all the vines and tree roots and things all around them start grabbing all of the knights, the 3 who were already beaten up, and start trying to kill them. And Zagan is like, Neffy, stop, let him go, it's fine. But also, what the hell? What is this?
So is she a sorcerer? Then?
No.
Okay.
This is something different. Again, the magic system is complicated.
Okay.
But there's another kind of magic. I don't know the official name, but basically think of it like mysticism. It's something that elves can do that basically no one else can.
That you can just do it.
Yes. To what degree is going to depend on the elf, and how powerful is going to depend on the elf, and a bunch of other things that we're not going to get into because we're not even halfway. We've only just gotten halfway through the book.
Okay.
And it's only going to get more plot complicated as we go. But Neffy can do this, but she can't really control it very well. Mm-hmm. One of the other things is Neffy can't do sorcery right now because she has this slave collar on from previous Archdemon, Marchosias, when he bought her, to seal sorcery power. So she couldn't even do sorcery if she wanted to. But mysticism's not sorcery. So it just completely gets around this crazy restriction that would, on a normal sorcerer, render them completely useless. So that's a thing. Ultimately, the Angelic Knights are sent away, but not killed, although fairly wounded, and the 3 helper knights for Chastille kind of get really annoyed at how much they've been trampled on. Zagan was hurt because the sacred sword is able to damage him physically and cut through his physical enhancements and his regeneration. But hey, guess what? Mysticism can work around that and cure over what the sacred swords can do.
Okay.
For reasons that you won't know until book 12.
Okay.
He's like, yes. All you need to know is right now, sacred swords cannot do sorcery, but mysticism can overwrite the sacred swords. That's all we get, and that's all you're going to get. Because, again, we still got so much left to do. But this is when the rest of the plot of the story really takes off. Zagan is like, okay, you know what? When I get the collar off you, I'm going to start teaching you about sorcery because I think you'd also be really good at it. Because the amount of power she showed already with mysticism, if she knew sorcery as well, she would be incredibly powerful. And this is when we learn about the archdemons, because Zagan is summoned to the collection of the archdemons because Marchosias died. Guess what? That means there's now a spot available. Zagan is chosen for 2 reasons. One, because of how he became a sorcerer, and it's revealed he became a sorcerer when he killed a sorcerer named Andras when he was 8 years old and knew nothing about sorcery, by countering Andras's magic as an 8-year-old boy who knew nothing about sorcery. And 2, what that sorcery developed into, which is Zagan's special ability, which we said was counter spells and physical enhancement, which he just does a lot of, but his main thing is counter spells. He has learned how to write spells that are exact copies of the other person's spells, overlay them so they activate a microsecond later, and that causes the energy that's flowing in the world to go back on the previous spell, causing them both to not happen. Okay. That is his most basic spell. And he has a bunch of others that will absorb the magic that gets thrown at him. So someone will throw like giant fireballs at him and they'll hit him and he's just like, yeah, and? And even if it gets through that, he's physically enhanced himself to the point that like a Mack truck could hit him at 1,000 miles an hour and the truck would explode around him. So he is chosen to be the next archdemon. He is given his second name, which is Sorcerer Slayer. And he is given a sigil of the Archdemon, which is the reason why there's exactly 13, because there are 13 sigils, and I believe you start learning in this that the Archdemon sigil, it gets put onto his hand, and it gives him access to a massive, unbelievably huge pool of magic that he can draw from to cast his spells with. Unfathomably huge. But it doesn't come on the rest of the story.
So, if that's the case, do all archdemons just die from old age then?
That's very likely unless someone manages to kill him, which is definitely possible.
Okay.
Because Zagan is special in that he's probably not going to be able to be killed because his magic is counter magic.
Right.
But other archdemons' magic, while very powerful, may not be so good in battle. So the right person attacking the right archdemon could definitely kill them.
Okay.
That's one reason why archdemons are so powerful. And also, in this meeting with them, he's surrounded by 12 people who could absolutely destroy him utterly, which drives him to do the main part of Chapter 4. Unrequited love is something that can have even physically hurt, where Zagan gets the key to Neffy's collar for reasons with the art. Not important. He gets it. Unlocks her collar, tells her, now get out. Don't ever come back. I never want to see you again.
Okay.
You are unnecessary. And the entire time in this story up to this point has been telling her, you're important, you matter, I need you for reasons I can't explain. Getting her clothes, taking care of her, getting good food, and a bunch of other stupid obvious romantic comedy bullshit of like, oh, we're going to sit at the table. It's like, oh, but there's only one chair. Okay, then sit on my lap. It's like, no, I couldn't do that. Do it. And then she does, and it's like, I did not think this through. This is incredibly embarrassing, but I said you could, and now I don't know what to do. That leads us into Chapter 5, and Archdemon's actions are expected to be audacious, and it brings everything full circle and comes to the end. So to summarize it really quickly.
Okay.
The person behind Face Peeler is still around. We don't know who it is.
Why do they think there's someone behind Face Peeler?
There are rumors going around that there's a person who was behind him, who the church believes is Zagan. There are rumors specifically saying it is Zagan.
Okay.
And he's planning to do something. The church is telling Chastille and the other angelic knights in the area, you've got to do something about this.
Okay.
While people who have gone missing have stopped going missing, there's still this investigation that's going on because it hasn't been fully ended because the church is like, no, Zagan's supposed to be behind it. Figure out where he is and take care of him.
Okay.
Neffy is now out wandering the streets of the town that they live nearby, which I haven't even brought up. Keonidas, the city near them, again, which becomes a huge part of the story, but she's now there, and Chastille finds her and is like, hey, you're the assistant to Zagan. And then Neffy just starts crying because Zagan kicked him out. And then the entire town, who now loves Zagan because he's been getting rid of bandits, he and Neffy are really cute and they've been around the town a lot lately, and they recognize Neffy and they all come up to Chastile and just start telling you, like, what the hell are you doing? You church people are so terrible. Why are you being mean to this poor girl? And the other half of Chastile comes out, which is she's a huge crybaby and just breaks down in tears in the middle of the town too.
That's funny.
So now both of them are just sitting there crying constantly, and Manuela, whose shop is next door, hears them, comes and drags them off to a bar. And there's the whole story of what's going on. There's a lot of great stories of like Manuela turning to Neffy and like, whatever you want, like whatever you want to eat, I'll pay for it. And immediately turns to Chastile and goes, but you're paying for your own shit. Don't fucking don't touch my money. He's like, why are you doing that?
Why so mean?
But it's a nice little thing. And before we go on the plot, a thing that I feel like I have to say about the story, and it's like Chastile makes more sense in the context of the story because she's like 16, 17. She's a teenager too. Yep. The three knights that are with her, I think, are a little older, but they're like 21. And it's more explained later, but everyone in this is a freaking crazy weirdo, like caricature type person.
Okay.
Because that's how this world is. The sorcerers are people who've gotten access to power and can be whatever they want. And the people of the church die constantly.
Huh.
Chastile has been a sacred knight for like a year or two. And that's considered a moderate amount of service time. They are incredibly young, constantly being thrown into these battles where usually some of them will die. So they're these very emotionally immature but still capable people. Mm. In battle, Chastile is fine, but like in a personal relationship, like she's just like can't do anything. Again, huge part of the humor of this, but also sensible. She's a 17-year-old kid who's sent out to fight people that cause literal buildings to explode with the flick of their fingers. And she's given a sword. Now it's a magic sword.
So why are they doing this?
Because sorcerers are evil, and the church's job is to keep them, if they can't destroy them all, at least keep them contained.
Okay.
So that's her job. And all of the other sacred sword users are also wildly strange people. There are a few who have been a sacred sword user for more than a decade, but most of them, it's like 5 years is considered an extraordinary veteran.
Huh.
There's one or two that have lasted longer than that, and they're special cases, also known as really important characters later in the story for lots of different reasons. But most of them die very young. Some of them are like 13, 14 when they become the most powerful warriors in the church. That's the thing you have to remember. Incredibly dark world that's mostly being used to make jokes.
Okay.
But anyway, back to the last bit of the plot summary. To bring the story to an end, at this moment, Neffy, Chastile, and Manuela are at this bar, and they're about to leave. All of a sudden, this field of darkness shows up and grabs Neffy and pulls her in. Grabs Chastile and pulls her in. Is about to grab Manuela, but she's able to start to fly away. Chastile's knight assistants show up and like push away the darkness. Neffy hears someone claiming to be Zagan saying, if you want to find them, come and stop me, Zagan. And Neffy's like, I recognize this voice. And then darkness. And so then the knights and Manuela go to find Zagan, and they attack his castle. And the knight's like, give us back Chastile, and also that other girl, because that was me. He's like, what are you even talking about? And then Manuela shows up and is like, what the hell? Someone's taken Neffy. And he's like, okay, I've changed my mind. I'm going to murder everything that's done this. And Zagan goes full rage mode. It's like, okay, all right. And then it's like, will you save Chastile too? It's like, yeah, okay, I can do that. Sure, let's go. And it turns out the person behind this, who's been trying to frame Zagan, is Barbados.
Oh, okay.
Barbados wanted to become Archdemon and was planning to become Archdemon by doing something that no one else had ever done, and was going to do this incredible magic, which we'll find out about in a minute. And also, Barbados' teacher, who he also doesn't really care about and would have murdered eventually, was Andras, who Zagan killed. So that castle, that million gold, all of that was eventually supposed to be Barbados when Barbados murdered him.
Okay.
But Nephi then points out, oh no, it's too late. Zagan's already been made Archdemon. Barbados gets very angry, is about to kill Nephi when Zagan punches a hole in the wall. And just Kool-Aid Man Zagan is like, found you. And this is, I've already talked about Zagan's like Sorcerer Slayer magic and all that. This is where you actually truly learn about it. Because Barbados tries to fight him and gets the ever-loving shit kicked out of him. He throws like all of his spells at Zagan and it just does nothing. Zagan like grabs his arm and just punches it once and his arm explodes into 100 pieces.
Good.
And like throws him into walls, through 3 or 4 more walls. And you're just like, yep. Yeah, I'm still a little annoyed. I'm going to keep going. But ultimately, and again, this has been shown in the story. I'm not summarizing it well, but this is why you should read it. But it'll still be fun even if you know this. Zagan goes for the killing blow where he makes this huge, massive power in like this very small package, rears his hand back, aims straight for Barbados' head, slams it in. There's a huge explosion, and you realize he put his hand right next to Barbados' head and just blew a hole 600 feet through everything right next to his face. He's like, don't hurt Nephi again. All right, you can go. Barbados is like, what? You're not going to kill me? It's like, nah, there's no need to kill you. But I was going to kill you to become Archdemon. It's like, okay, bring it. I don't care. And part of this comes from something that Nephi had talked about and that you do sort of get of like, in the very beginning, Barbados is the one who invited him to the auction. Barbados has sort of been the only other person that Zagan had ever talked to before the story started.
Okay.
And it's like, so to make up, since I did let you live, you need to bring me a really nice bottle of alcohol. Because I don't know anything about alcohol. So bring me something really nice, and that'll cover you for this time. If you want to try and take it from me, okay, you can come and try again another time. But I don't feel like killing you.
So he's kind of like frenemy?
Frenemies. Yeah. Very much, at this point, very much frenemies.
Okay.
That's when the giant magic circle that Barbados was working on randomly activates. And you don't know why. And that's when Barbados says, like, yeah, so the thing I decided to do to try to become Archdemon was I was going to summon a demon. You know those things that don't exist?
He's going to... Okay.
He's going to summon a demon. And while the magic circle is damaged, he succeeds. And the summary of what happens is Zagan, who was abjectly terrified, surrounded by the archdemons, this part of a demon, not even a full demon, shows up. Like this sort of like half shadow, half like not even fully formed in this world appears. And it puts everything the archdemons did to him to shame. It is the most terrifyingly powerful presence he has ever met in his existence.
Okay.
And it turns to him and just bows down and says like, oh, I didn't realize you were here, Master. Is there something that you need? And Zagan's like, no. You can go home. Understood, Master. And he leaves. And Zagan is like, okay, I'm going to need a couple gallons to put all that sweat back into my body, but okay. And with that, then there's the romantic finale of, oh, Nephi and Zagan, like, aren't going to kick each other out. They're going to stay together for the completely unknown thing that they're not talking about. And definitely not they love each other, but don't know that the other person also loves them back.
Gotcha.
And then there's the kind of the expected not having anything else. Nephi ends up putting the slave collar back on. It's just like, this is a thing that shows that I'm connected to Master Zagan. But also like their words for each other change, and it's sort of, there's nothing else, so that's what they use. And it's not like this forever. This romance and this like character, it doesn't stay as an archdemon and slave at all. Even at this point, it's not. But it's kind of like, could you have done something a little nicer?
Yeah.
I know in like 2 chapters it's going to go away and it'll be replaced by something else and it'll be so much better. But could you just rewrite the first book right now and just change this part? But it's like, okay, fine.
Okay.
And it's that moment of just like, them both saying, like, we're not going to abandon each other ever again.
Okay.
And that's the first book.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So that's Archdemon's Dilemma Book 1. This, more than anything, is setup.
Okay.
It doesn't feel like it in the moment because everything that is being set up is necessary for this book. Mm-hmm. But where it goes from here is batshit crazy. I would say it's probably book 4 or 5 when you start really seeing how insane this gets. Not that books 2 and 3 are bad. Book 2 has 2 of the best characters and the best counterpoint to Zagan. And I can't spoil anything, but it's so funny for such a stupid reason. It's great. Just remembering it still makes me laugh. Book 3, if anyone listened to our list of villains.
Ah, right.
That is the one where we meet Bifrons, and the letter, minor spoiler for it, for reasons his assistant gets a letter that when she opens it, a giant Zagan fist pops out and punches Bifrons in the face. That's book 3. That's still not when it starts getting crazy.
Huh. Okay.
But that's when it starts to become, the story starts to change from Zagan and Nephi are this like couple that exists, and hey, there's a church trying to kill the sorcerers, and there's other sorcerers trying to kill the sorcerers and stuff. Book 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, to give a minor set of spoilers, the story starts changing to Zagan needs to be more powerful, not just as he learns in book 1 to protect Nephi, but to do the things that he needs to do and to deal with things like demons, which surprise exists, and other archdemons, which surprise maybe want to kill him for reasons.
Okay.
Some of which make sense, and some of which are they're archdemons and they don't give a crap, and it's like, I'm just gonna murder him because I can. And so he starts building up a group to become more powerful and to make them more powerful, and this not particularly evil sorcerer starts becoming something very different as it goes, and it's very, very good.
Cool.
And yeah, it's such a great series. There are so many moments that are built up to that I cannot talk about and are massive spoilers, but there's the true super ultra mega hyper bad that I don't even know if we're ever gonna see them fight, is one of the neatest ideas in a story that I know I've seen before, but the way it's done here is just so good. And even as a written novel, it still feels and goes like a really great shonen battle series of like crazy magic and all sorts of other things like this.
Nice.
Absolutely excellent series. Absolutely 100% worth your time. We have not talked about it. The art is really good. It definitely gets better with time. The first book is fine. It's quite good. As it goes on, it just gets better. And the character designs, as you get more of the really weird sorcerers and things, are just that much more interesting. So many of the characters, so many of the people involved in the series are great. There's so many connections between characters that are hinted at that ultimately come together later. There's so much good about it. And the first book is really good, and it has almost none of that. But it's still really good.
Yeah. So it sounds good enough where, as you were talking, I bought the first volume of the manga.
I do not know how good the manga is, but if it's anything like the novel, it should be great.
I will let you know.
And it's a big enough series that it's like, yeah, they probably put the time in to make it really good. Highly, highly recommend. It is one of my favorite series that I found last year. It's 18 books. I can think of one book that I read, and I kind of just don't really remember what was happening in it. And it was kind of like, it wasn't really that good. Out of 18. And even still, it's still really good. It's better than most moderately okay series I know. The worst of it. It's just a great series. It becomes more than what it feels like it is in this first book, though.
Okay.
And as you can tell from all of my explaining of this, there's a lot in this first book.
Yeah.
Yeah. But with that, that will be the end of another episode of the Mudai Manga Book Club podcast. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. If you'd like to find us outside of this particular version of the episode that you are listening to, you can find us on Blue Sky at Mudai Manga Book Club, on YouTube at Mudai Manga Book Club, or on Podbean, iTunes, or anywhere that podcasts are available, except for the one or two I maybe haven't signed up for yet that I still have to finish, at Mudai Manga Book Club. Depending on where you are, please like, subscribe, share, ring the bell, comment, 5-star review, push the button, swing the sword, eat the potato, whatever it is that the location you're listening to this asks you to do to show that you care. Please do those sorts of things. And if you would like to send us comments, questions, rants, or anything else, you can do this at all of those places. And you can also email us at mudaimangabookclub@gmail.com. But with that, Louie, now that we have reached the end of the episode of recommending things that we like to recommend because of our recommending recommendedness, what is one more thing that you would like to recommend to everyone at home?
My thing is Godzilla.
Never heard of it.
So if you don't know what Godzilla is, it is a giant nuclear lizard.
Okay.
But what you should also know is that there are a ton of movies about it.
Yeah.
It's been around for a long time.
I think the first movie came out in the 50s.
Yes, I believe so. It's black and white, the original. Godzilla -1, which was the recent one from Japan, is really good. Also set around that time.
Okay.
But is in color, unlike the original, which is black and white. They're just cool. I was looking through my collection of Godzilla movies, like, oh yeah, that one's cool. Gonna watch that one again. That one's cool.
Yeah.
Not a huge fan of the American ones, just especially the one that came out a while ago. That one was weird. But even the newer ones, the cool thing about the Japanese ones is that they focus a lot more on Godzilla and less about the characters, like the people. No one cares about the people.
Everyone loves the giant radioactive lizard.
Yeah. So, there's people in it, because they're the ones who actually have to talk and do those kind of things. And kind of tell you what the story is.
Yeah.
But it's cool. Godzilla's awesome. If you haven't seen a Godzilla movie, there's a few I would recommend. Godzilla 1984 is really good. Godzilla vs. Biollante is very good. -1 is very good, because that's kind of almost a retelling of the original. Because if you go back and watch the original, it's very different compared to more modern ones.
Yeah.
Because it's very much about nuclear fallout and things like that. Than about Godzilla, for the most part. It's about all the bad things that happen because of the nuclear bombs. But -1 is done really well. So I highly recommend that one if you've never seen one.
Okay.
What about you?
For me, gonna also recommend sort of a less specific thing, but was just been a busy week, haven't had a lot of time to do reading, and was out taking a walk and looking for something, and I got reminded of a music artist that I haven't listened to in a while, and they haven't really released anything that recently, but they've been around for a long time, called the Yoshida Brothers. If you don't know this is a pair of specifically brothers whose last name is, I believe, Yoshida, which is where they got their name from. Very creative. But they're two Japanese samisen players, which is like a traditional Japanese stringed instrument.
Yes, I was trying to remember who they were, and it's like, oh yeah, now I know.
If you've ever listened to like music that's trying to pretend like traditional Japanese music, you know the sound of this instrument. And it's this very traditional Japanese sound. But the thing that makes them very interesting is they took these instruments and they're playing more modern rock, alternative rock style songs using these instruments. There's a few songs which have some lyrics, but most of them are pure instrumental music. And they do cover a wide range of feeling, but it's, imagine instead of a guitar, they had shamisen and they were playing any sort of alternate, easy listening rock that you can think of. And that's what their music is, and it's very good.
Yes. Yep.
maybe not for everyone, but the uniqueness of this very traditional sounding instrument in these very modern style compositions works very well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They've been like a musical group for more than 20 years. There's multiple albums. There's a lot of their music out there. So if you go out and look for the Yoshida Brothers, Yoshida Space Brothers, I'm not spelling it for you, too bad. It's in the name of our podcast. You should already know. Wait, it's not in the name of our podcast. What am I saying? Never mind.
No.
So I will spell it. It's Brothers. There. But the Yoshida Brothers, great music. Definitely worth listening to. And it's also the kind of thing, like, you can listen to a couple songs and decide very quickly, do I like this? There you go. You now know this exists. And if you don't like it, it's like, it was like 10 minutes of listening to music. And you can be done.
I'm trying to remember, because there's a really good song that they play where they're kind of going off of each other.
There's so many good songs.
Yeah.
But again, it is mostly instrumentals. There are a few songs. And they're quite famous, especially in Japan. I guess maybe not super famous, but like they were in a commercial for the Nintendo Wii, their music. And they've done a lot of music that's been used in a lot of other places. So it's definitely really good. And the music itself is extremely good. Mm-hmm. It's not just like, oh, we're going to play random songs, but we're going to use a sandwich. It's like, no, they're exceptionally good performers.
Yes. They are cool to watch.
As for next week, we will be covering...
Overlord, Volume 1.
Oh.
The light novel, which actually is Overlord Volume 1 of the manga, which is actually Overlord Anime Episode Season 1, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if you have any of those,
okay,
we'll be talking about it next week.
All right. Well...
It's very convenient that way.
I'm surprised it's only one volume of the manga.
Well, so the first light novel is actually not incredibly long.
Really? Oh, I thought it was huge from what I remember, but I haven't really read it, so I guess I don't know.
Yeah,
it's... I mean, I totally know. I'm ready for next week.
Well, because Overlord came out quite a while ago, so
yeah,
it was one of the first really popular light novels, and that was years and years ago now.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about it. So,
all right.
If you're wondering, it is the Undead King arc. That is the name of the actual part of the story we're going to talk about.
All right. Well, with that, have a good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
But now on to our second topic.
More high elf. Wait, no.
Well, at least more elf.
No. More elf.
More elf on the shelf. No.
More elf off the shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't stop recording. Oh wait, no, yeah, stop recording.